This is a rookie trying to perform. Are you ready?
Yes.
Drum roll, please. Welcome to From Scratch. From Scratch is a place where I explore startup world with my founder and creator friends from all over the world. We focus on the 0 to 1 stories, struggles, grit, and drives. The stories untold and the inner strength that founders and creators need in the pursuit of startup dreams. I'm your host, Daw-Chih, and I'm the first-time startup founder and content creator. In this episode, we're so happy to have ioana Axinte on the pod with us. Ioana is a great friend of mine. I had the pleasure to meet her during my time at Draper University, one of the top startup accelerators in Silicon Valley. She's an award-winning educator and speaker on the entrepreneurship and leadership. Her active advocacy in child and youth development shed a bright light on learning, joy, and growth. Now she's a co-founder of One Learning, a learning platform for children and parents to grow and create everlasting memories. Welcome, ioana.
Amazing. It's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you, Daw-Chih.
How do you like the intro?
I really love it. I really love it. I think I need to take that from you and just put it on my LinkedIn now. So thank you for making my life easier.
Awesome. Yeah, I tried to do my research, and it's very easy to do the intro for you. Like, we know each other, and I'm familiar with what you do, and I always remember the time when we met. Yeah,
I that was my first thought this morning about how we've met, and it's really it's kind of like two souls coming together and connecting without even having to even talk. So it was it's I think the whole experience and the whole group at Draper, it's really amazing people that came together. So I'm so happy that we had the opportunity to actually meet, and there you go, we're still keeping in touch and connecting and sharing, and it's incredible.
exactly. And it's like we're not living in the same place. We are different parts of the world and just came together, and I think that's such a wonderful experience. And we still keep in touch like this. This is awesome. Apart from what I said in the intro, what do you want people to know about you?
Very interesting question. I really believe that we create our own worlds, and the choices we make as adults sometimes come from kind of like the blueprint that was created in our early childhood. And sometimes we're not aware of that. And the kind of like the joy for me, or like the path that I've chosen, was when I got the understanding that basically our kind of like early brain development and how we think and how we behave and how we interact with one another and how we create friendships and the relationships we have, literally everything comes from like the first few years of our life. And for me, it's not everyone has that understanding, and I wasn't aware of that either. So I'm really here. Like I really believe that we have a limited time on this planet, and it took me. I went on a journey to get to where I am today. But I really believe that every single choice, every single minute, it should be joyful. It should be, like it's not like you don't have to be happy. Like it's not like prescribed like happiness, but challenges or struggles from kind of like my own kind of transformation and experience you can change your mindset, you can change your perspective, you can change how you view things. And when you do that, your world changes as well, and how you come into the world. So for me, at this moment in time within like my journey, I prioritize joy, I prioritize things that light me up. I make time for things that like really, really bring that beautiful energy. So yeah, I think that's in a nutshell answering that question.
No, that's beautiful. So you talk about the journey you've been through. Like, what was that journey like? How did this joy, beautiful energy idea came from?
A lot of personal development, I think. We all kind of like take on so much from our external world. Like when we're very little, we kind of like, we look at what's around us, the environment around us, and we take on other people's beliefs, with the way we see relationships in our kind of like environment, the way people talk about money, the way the aspirations, ambitions in life. We kind of like craft a model based on our initial experiences, and you think that this is what I can do, this is kind of like how my life is going to unfold, because you don't know any different. You haven't seen different perspectives. And I think for me, the first kind of like when I was 16, I was empowered to kind of like lead on this. I was volunteering for a club, a youth club. And I think for me, that was like the first, because in school, obviously, like you come, you learn, you sit down, and you kind of like have to memorize, and then you do some tests. And it's kind of like you're not even discovering who you are as an individual. It's just like, okay, like now biology, now chemistry, like now maths. So for me, just being in that youth club and kind of like having the opportunity to be creative, to understand, the challenges in the problems of the community, and come together with other kind of like groups, other young people together to kind of like brainstorm ideas, and like it's such a powerful experience to have. And for me, that was the moment where I realized that I can actually help, I can actually support, I can actually make change in my community. So that was like, I think, the first kind of like pivotal moment. The second one was when I went abroad. Part of the European Union, they used to offer grants and like scholarships for young people. It was called Youth in Action, and the whole purpose was to bring like young people from different countries together. So I still remember my first experience. I had to take the train for the first time to a different country. We went to Turkey, and we went to this like little amazing village where they were doing ceramics, and we were all together from, I think it was like 8 or 9 different countries, young people from different countries. There were like so many like team building experiences, cultural, immersing yourself in like all the various different cultures. And I was like, oh my God, like this world is so amazing. Like, again, like when you're kind of like just being in your home country, you can read and you can look on, like, you can watch TV and you can have a sense of basically cultures and diversity and like other people. But unless you meet with like others, and unless you kind of like go to that place and experience the place. So I just felt like that was like my second thing about like how beautiful this world is, how amazing we are. And it saddens me that even at this moment in time, we're so connected to one another. But yeah, with like everything that's happening in the world, So yeah, for me, the world is beautiful. The world is diverse. I think if you have an open mind and you can actually go and, meet with others and learn from each other, we've got we could innovate and we could bring so many beautiful solutions just by kind of like listening and coming together. And I think that's kind of like probably the next stage. Like if we want to solve the bigger problems that will come in the world, you will need to have people with diverse perspectives coming together, and we need to know how to work with one another. So even this drives me, like what we're doing for One Learning, it's having that kind of like understanding from a very early kind of like age. And how amazing would it be for, a kid in Romania to interact with someone from Japan, or, like having those early kind of like years experiences and having your group of friends and interacting with one another and understanding from a very early age. Like it took me probably until like I was 16 to have that experience, but it would just be so amazing. You would kind of like grow up with a different mindset and a different way in terms of like approaching life as well. So
I remember I had two dreams when I was young, like very, very young. Number one is to become a pro basketball player. And number two is to travel the world to see how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
I'm working on one of them.
We'll work on both of them.
Okay, I'm working on both of them. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. But I think that's a very interesting entry point to your startup idea. How did Wine Learning come about?
By bringing a group of people together and basically just saying, we have this idea, let's test it. And for us at the beginning, it wasn't about the idea, the market, the money that we're going to be making. It was basically, can we work together for 6 months? Because for me, the team is really important. I mean, everyone is super amazing, but obviously creating a team, it takes time. So for me, like the essence and everything that's happening, it's all about the team. It's the group of people you're bringing together with no ego, understanding what's important for the business, and really, really having a really great experience and building a great product. So the first experiment was, can we work together for 6 months? And we're still here after like 3 years. So I think we did a pretty good job. Yeah, we started, so during the pandemic, I went back to like as I was mentioning earlier, I remember the time when just a teacher volunteered their time to hang out with a group of young people and give them the time, energy, presence, and inspiring them to the kind of like role modeling and inspiring them that they can have impact and they can change the world. So during the pandemic, obviously it was very challenging for everyone. And rather than watching TV, I was like, can I go back to the foundation? And can I, give my time, energy, and presence to the next generation of young people? And that's what we did. And we did design thinking. During the pandemic, we got a group of young people. They were all obviously remotely from different kind of like parts of the country. And basically, they were like 14 to 17-year-olds. And we did design thinking. We went through the whole process, empathizing. So kind of like coming up with solutions and ideas for their communities in terms of helping even the younger generation. So like the kids in primary school, obviously, some of them, it was very challenging for some families. Maybe didn't have the proper technology, or they were missing a lot of the, again, the way I see the way learning works. If you miss critical milestones, it's very hard for you then to understand the more kind of like deeper concepts. So there were during the pandemic, so many kids lost kind of like the foundational, and they had obviously like you would need additional resources to be put in place. So it was kind of like, how can a group of young people come together to come up with solutions for the younger generation. So they went through the whole design thinking process. They came up with like kind of like summer camps where they can do, and rather than obviously teaching, they were kind of like coming with creative ideas on how can we, you have like a page where you've got like different numbers. They had to add to give them like the number of the color for them to kind of like draw in that, like many kind of like experiential type experiential learning used in those kind of like adventure camps to bring like literacy and maths. Those were the two subjects that we really wanted to focus on. And I still remember like the photos. They had to pitch at the end as well, like their idea, and they got a budget, they got money, obviously, to implement their projects. I don't know. It was very inspiring to see them, to see a 14-year-old coming and working with other kids from different parts of the country and doing what they did. I was there for them. I was like, I don't care. Like I can work 24 hours. They're super inspiring, super amazing. I'm still in touch with some of them. So yeah, it's great. It's really great. And I think for me, that's the essence. That's life. It's paying it forward. Someone helped me, I'm helping someone else. Someone else is helping someone else. Someone else will remember that experience to help someone else. And even when I'm not longer here on this planet, I just hope this ripple effect will continue and go into the world. So similar to like what we're doing for One and One Learning is that can we support parents to create amazing environments for kids, so then they can grow up becoming, really, really amazing adults that continue to do that. Sorry, yes, I went on 100 different tangents. It was during COVID. Yes, it was during COVID.
Right. No, I tried to follow the storylines, and you obviously have so much to tell, so much stories behind everything.
There are literally amazing. Yeah, they're amazing stories, and I think, and that's for me when I talk about following your joy, because it's not about trying to fit something into like, I need to make this work, I need to struggle, I need to like, like for me it's about like when I'm gonna be in my 80s and look back at my journey and look back at my life, you see this kind of like beautiful like path unfolding, and you're just following that. So for me, it was giving back to the young people. And then from that came this idea of, can we create a space? Because we saw how engaged kids they were. And obviously we've seen the news where like teachers were like, oh, we can't keep the kids online, their cameras are off. And I was like, I had no problem. The kids were like, we wanted to spend more time together. We wanted to do more things together. It was fun. It was beautiful. And I was like, can we create a space for young people? So I wasn't thinking about market. I wasn't thinking about the business. I was thinking about there's this challenge. Obviously, you've got TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and so on. But can we create this space for like young people? And that's where I think the first challenge came, where I realized very early on that we don't have a market. Like it's so beautiful and purposeful, like to do and create something. But if you're not sustainable, and if people are not willing to pay, it's hard. And I think the hardest part for me is that I go into, it's a challenge, because I go into a market where there's not much money, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I know that the impact is there. I know there's going to be like a bigger impact. So it's that kind of like balance. Yeah.
No, I think startup founders, a lot of them are like us, like you, um, have amazing purposes and yeah, just have this beautiful idea of the world, and they see that there's some kind of vacancy, some kind of needs right now, and they just go for it without thinking too much about how to actually be profitable with it.
So that's step two.
That's step two. That's great.
Find the problem, and then step two.
I'm very happy you said
Find
that's
the
step two.
market.
For a lot of founders, step one is
Step two, make sure you also are sustainable and you can make money, and then you can have other projects and other things. In addition
Totally.
to what you're doing. So
totally. Now, one of the first things that we learned from Draper University was you have to make money.
no, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. But obviously, like, 'cause, for me, like, it's, as I said, I don't have any, like, I came into the startup world with no business knowledge, no previous business knowledge, and I was just kind of like following. Okay, there's a problem. How can we, like, what's the solution here? But you can have a problem solution fit, but then you also need to have a product market fit. So
Yeah.
or you create your new category, but then you need so many resources, and like, probably in my 50s, when you have thought leadership, and you're more experienced, you can go and create new incredible innovations. But it's a journey, it's a process.
Totally.
You learn, like, if you're taking action, you're learning, right?
Yeah.
And having a process and going through that experience, you can come up now, if there's like other ideas and other things that are happening, you have the framework, you've learned the basics of how to do things, and you're going to do it faster. So just even, like, for me, it's not about making mistakes. For me, it's like, how fast can you action so that you can learn? So then you have that insight and knowledge. And I know people say, oh, go to mentors and go to people that have already done it. But I still believe that you have to face your own. It's about you as a person and understanding who you are. And we all have strengths. We all have blind spots. So unless you understand your blind spots, no mentor in the world. Like, have a mentor, go and speak to people. It's good to have external perspectives. But what I found, the ioana today versus ioana that started, a few years ago, I wasn't self-reliant on myself, my thinking, my decision-making. I was kind of like a little bit of a sponge. I kind of like, and I think it's just a learning process, right? Everything that you're doing, if it's the first time doing it, is going to be more uncomfortable because you're kind of like going through that kind of like comfort zone, right? You're pushing your boundaries, you're pushing your zone of comfort. So it's going to be more challenging, but then you do it, and then you do it, and you're repeatedly doing it until it becomes your norm. So that's, I would say, for anyone considering going on this journey, it's a very amazing journey. Go for it. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's okay. Like, you're just learning. That's it. So the step two, it was basically finding a market, and that's where I had this incredible workshop on customer segmentation. And that's where I basically, the light bulb came of like, let's interview everyone. Let's segment our customers. So obviously our customers could be parents, educators, teachers, could be in terms of B2C, B2B, nurseries, schools. So I was literally like just diving deep in like interviews just to understand where could that basically market be. We learn in different ways. We learn through, obviously, even now as we're having this conversation, we're learning from one another. There's many different ways, but I think to kind of like come to your own perspective, your own reflections, how you behave in that situation, and reflecting on how you behaved and the reason why you're behaving in that way. I think that for me is what you're always going to become a different person because you had that experience, and the next time you're doing it is going to be different, and you're going to be choosing differently, and you're going to try and test and experiment and do things to kind of get you to where you want to be.
And what's the biggest difference you see from the ioana now and the ioana 3 years ago?
A lot more like self-confidence. I know that I have, like, I've built on, and I think self-confidence comes from doing the uncomfortable things and seeing that, they're just part of the learning process, and knowing that you can do that and having those early moments on building something your own. And I will go back to like why we're building One Learning, because the reason why we're building One Learning is because if the kids have those early experiences of creating and doing something, then their self-belief also increases, because they're doing, like, you're helping them having those experiences and supporting them, and it's kind of like I did it, like building on those like I did it moments. That literally has a positive impact on who you are, what you're capable of, how you're going to deal with challenges that are going to come your way later on. So for me it's like that self-belief, like it's kind of like deepening and deepening and deepening that no matter challenge, no matter what comes, there's always a solutions. You'll always find a way. There's nothing that you can't do.
It's so important to have that belief that you can solve anything, because that's really the truth. If you think otherwise, it's only in your head. It's not true at all. For whoever is listening who wants to start a business, you can do this.
And no one has it all figured out. It's like
No.
It's basically you have an assumption that in 3 years' time or 5 years' time I'm going to be here. And you experiment and you try things, and things might not work, but then you learn from them, and then you'll try other things, and those things are going to be working. And you can replicate. It depends now, because I think obviously, like with your podcast, 0 to 1. 0 to 1, is it creating a new innovation? Is it kind of like getting a framework or a template of a successful business, incorporating that within your own, and you're improving your own? You can make improvements into the operations and the efficiencies of the business, so then you have obviously a bigger return than other businesses. Maybe you understand customers are changing and their needs are not currently covered by the current company, so then you can come up with a different way of doing things. So it just depends on basically what journey and the many different ways you can build a company. So it doesn't have to be a new product, from zero that never existed on the market. It can be businesses that are already successful. You just take it and improve things within that business. So but it's just about doing. It's just do.
It's just about doing, just about getting used to the uncomfortability. Because it gets really uncomfortable. I just went through it, like earlier this year.
Celebrate.
It was a crazy time. Like I didn't know my emotion, my motivation can go so low. It just a lot of doubts crept in, because I built Una, and nobody's using it. Nobody heard about it. But I didn't see all these things. All I saw was I built something probably nobody wants.
Exactly. So like those are thoughts, right? So those thoughts are coming, but actually, if you look at it, it's not about, like, especially when you're very early stage, you're creating something new and people don't know of you. You don't have a brand, like you don't have a presence. You haven't been around for many, many years. We see all these big companies, and I'm not going to give names.
Please name names.
If you look at their journey, they celebrate 100 years anniversaries, 18 years anniversaries. Like it's been with people, and it's been, people know of them because of that. So it's about visibility, and it's about getting kind of like and I think that's kind of like what startup founders need to think about, and what a draper, that was kind of like my light bulb moment, is how are you going to put that product, service, innovation into the market? What's your distribution channel? For me, that was like, okay, I need distribution channels. Like, let's kind of like come up with creative solutions of how we can do that. So so basically, problem, market, distribution channels. There you go, business solved.
I truly believe that, you can build a product market fit. So you can build your product also the same way as you build your network. So if you're not in the sector, if you don't have any connection in the area that you want to be in, start building your network and in that sector. So over time, you build a network, you build a brand, a reputation, and things gets easier because your voice basically get amplified. Just because people and the same product you have, because more people are podcasting it, so it's it gets more traction.
Visibility.
Visibility, exactly. You talked about this workshop for customer sector or segmentation. After you've done like interviews for your early customers, did you ever like pivot or change your strategy?
Yeah, so that's the moment we pivoted, and you're gonna have many pivots because don't fall in love with your initial solution. Try to basically understand like the problem, under discovering your customers and what value you can bring for them, and then creating based on what your the needs of your customers. And customers will change and businesses will change, nothing stays the same. So get comfortable with change as well. So that's like maybe like another highlight. So that's when we understood that I don't want to say all parents, but a lot of parents, especially when I was doing interviews, parenting and also working, or it's a challenge. It's never a balance. The working world is not made for parents. I will repeat this forever and ever. Parenting is maybe it's the toughest job in the world. And some people have support, others they don't have support. There's a huge crisis in terms of like early years childhood sector, because one is super expensive in some countries. Second, limited resources, or literally you don't have any services available within your area.
Like kindergartens, things like that.
Yeah. Kindergartens, or even if you have like childminders or people that can come and even for a few hours, you need to pay someone to do that. It is a big crisis in a lot of countries. If you look at UNICEF study that was done before the pandemic, I always go to that resource because for me it's just unbelievable. Half of preschool kids worldwide, they don't have access to learning opportunities at that early stage.
That's crazy.
Like, we live in the 21st century. There's access to technology. We could basically disseminate things much easily, but it's still kind of like, pockets of people that have access to this and other people that don't have access. So that's the reason why we thought, okay, can we create something that is evidence-based, that it's based on research. So a lot of like what we're doing, the activities, the support, everything that's on the app It's evidence backed by leading research on brain development, and how can we basically create those environments and those moments of connection between parents and kids that will nurture basically their physical, their cognitive, language, social, emotional development. And we try to do it, and that's another thing that we've discovered, is that at this moment in time, and obviously with social media, there's so much noise, so many people are basically just giving advice to parents without even understanding the science behind it or the brain development.
Yeah.
Which, sometimes like you need a forum, you need people, you need perspectives and everything, but we really wanted to be like very kind of scientific evidence behind it. And working with educators, working with experts in the field, to really create a great product that they can implement very easily within their day-to-day. So that was another thing that we've discovered. Obviously, when you're a parent, you don't have time. You don't even have time for yourself anymore. And we want to create that space for 5 minutes where you can also breathe, but you can also have fun, and have those moments of connections between you and your child.
So I guess One Learning has two aspects of it. Like one is for children's brain development, and another one is to kind of have this interaction with their parents so they can have like the experience together. How did you narrow it down to this version of One Learning?
A lot of interviews, but also very early prototyping. So iterating the product, rather than spending many kind of months on developing it, we thought, let's just build something. And because at the beginning there was we don't know what to do. And it was okay, we know, we can give you access to so many things. And we built it in such a way where it was, available, and they can access everything on the app. And then I was doing another series of interviews and understanding usability. And then the parents were coming back, but it's so confusing. So much to do.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Can you even do shopping there?
Exactly. And then that's again in the importance of not keeping your idea only for yourself and sharing it with other people and going to various different experts in the field. So then I had a conversation with a really nice friend of mine, and she used to work for Google, and she was think about obviously the journey and the user path and the moments of delight, and how you can basically, each screen is you're focusing people's attention, the user's attention, only on one thing. What's the main one thing they want to do? Because our the first screen, and if I show it to you, was do this and do this and do this and do this and do this, and we have this everything is there. So that's why I really like experimenting and testing and doing all these things. And the product is never gonna be the same thing as your it's the first version, you're putting it out there. And user feedback and building the product with your users is the most efficient and important way.
I'm curious about the feedback you got from the parents. How did you, because obviously it's a big problem, parenting and children development. How did you narrow it down to brain development?
It's about building those initial moments, brain building, the way we say it. So
brain building. Wow.
Brain building.
I love that.
There's many. So that's the scientific kind of part. Obviously, when you're going to parents, you're not going to see brain building. Again, there's the science behind it and the way we're thinking about building the product. Then there's another messaging when you're communicating to parents, and for parents is all about obviously supporting and helping their kids, creating that nurturing and nurturing environment at home. And how can I help my child? That's the mind of like any parent is like, am I a good parent? Am I doing the right things? How do I know? There's like that confidence that if I'm using this, it will help, with helping, supporting me to help my kid in the early years of development. And so the brain building is like the science behind it, but everything we do is like play-based learning. But that's another thing that we've kind of like uncovered. Some parents understand the importance of play in the early years. Other parents, they don't understand the importance of play. Play is the natural like language of kids. If you remember Daw-Chih, when you were probably 3-4 years old, you just wanted to play. It's a magical world. You're experiencing things for the first time. You're learning a lot. Like, there's like that creativity. You want to write, you want to play, you want to create music. It's like so much, right? It's our innate, it's innate within us. We lose it over time just because of the way society and the world works. And I can go into that as well, but I'm just going to keep it for like early years. So we understood that, again, like play, sometimes it's difficult for parents that their parents haven't played with them. And they don't know, and it's sometimes it feels like it's boring. It's challenging. It's 24 hours. Like, you never stop. It's challenging. So that's where I think, even like within like the communication, the way you message this, and the way we've kind of like built the product. It's just 5 minutes. Just there's plenty of options. We give like an activity of the day that you could try. Sometimes might work, sometimes might not work, because obviously it's depending. Like, you have to try things to see what works, what doesn't work. And then similar to like Netflix, it kind of like personalizes. If you kind of like say, I like this and I like this and I like this, it kind of like personalizes your learning path. But also at the same time, you can't do the same thing, because if you do the same experience over and over and over again, and I go back to the science of brain building, you're creating, when we're having experiences, we're creating new neural pathways within our brain. So it's our brain, it's like the brain plasticity. And new experiences kind of like develop those highways, right? New highways, new connections between neurons, right? So if the building a healthy brain, you will be more resilient when you're an adult. Whenever there's a challenge, a crisis, a pandemic, your relationship, you break up from your relationship, you get fired from, not get fired, but you're being made redundant. All of those things that you've done when you were young, it will help you have resilience, grit, have a growth mindset, look at ways and look at perspectives and things that in a different way. And you always know that no matter the challenge, there's always a solution. You'll always know that within you have the skills, knowledge, emotional resilience to go through anything in life. How amazing is that? Like, how amazing is that?
Yeah, if you have that perspective, the world suddenly becomes so different. Like, you can basically do anything you want.
So yeah, I mean, I had a discussion earlier, and if you look, again, you can take different theories, but like if you look at like the pyramid with the hierarchy of needs, right? Like you need that, food, shelter at the bottom, then physiological, like safety. Don't quote me on what I'm saying now, but if you look at the hierarchy of needs, the
I'll put a graph.
love and belonging, and then like to reach self-actualization. So kids that already have those needs, covered, then they can think bigger. They can be like, oh, I want to become an astronaut because I have everything that I have like within my environment. And I don't have to think about where am I going to sleep tonight? Am I going to have food? Am I loved? Do I belong? Do I feel that I'm nurtured and I have a good, relationship like with my parents? I can, because those needs are satisfied, then I can think bigger. I can think about, my dreams and ambitions and what I want to do in the world and things that I can change. But other kids that they don't have that, then that's where they are. And until you, and that's another thing, like I think only after maybe you leave home or you go on your own path, you can satisfy kind of like those initial needs. So then you can think bigger and you can do other things later on. But everyone's on their own journey and everyone's on their own path. What I'm trying to say is that if we create really great nurturing environments for kids, the world might change.
Yeah. I was definitely a big kid, jumping up and down. I remember I wanted to climb anything I can find.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I could stay on the basketball court for 12 hours straight for a day, for a week. Yeah, it's I remember that was my childhood, and my parents are super supportive of that. Um, so I was curious about the science of brain building. So in very simple terms, what contribute to a brain development?
Social interactions.
Mm,
It's not passive learning on a screen 24 hours. And I don't like, there's no judgment of using the phone and using YouTube for kids and using like there's obviously when you're like for a year-old or a 2-year-old, the recommendation is not to use any technology at all, because it's serve and return. It's the social interactions. You look at your parents and you see them smiling, you smile back. You see them sad, you're gonna be like sad. Like you're learning through those interactions, early interactions. And then what happens if anything happens and you self-regulate. It's kind of, so brain building, it's about the serve and return, the interactions that you're having with your caregivers, the environment at home. Like, is it a positive environment? Is it fighting all the time, like challenging circumstances at home, or is it do you feel safe? And then is the secure attachment between the kids and the parents. So that's, again, what we're working on in those moments of like 5-10 minutes when you're doing something together, giving those opportunities to connect and have those moments of connection. You don't have to do things for a full day together. It's little, like, little things that you could do within the day, within each day, that are strengthening that bond, the parent-child bond. And that's where, like, the secure attachment is like, I'm this little human being that wants to do so many things, but this big world is there, and sometimes I'm scared, but I want to go and try things. So then you go try things, but then you always know that whatever you're trying, whatever the challenge, whatever you encounter, there's a safe place that you can return to, where you are seen, where you are heard, where you are taken care of, where you're nurtured.
wow.
So having that is very powerful. for a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
That is very, very powerful.
Amazing. I got goosebumps. It's crazy. Because I promised we're gonna talk about struggles. So
Okay.
so I want to ask you if you can take a step back and just look back on the startup journey. Is there something that
Yeah.
you struggle the most?
Yeah. So the ioana now reframed struggles. Like I don't believe in struggles anymore because I reframed it. But yes, I had many struggles obviously on this journey, and like my own personal journey, but then also on the startup journey. But the way I see struggles now is just basically you growing. Like it's that uncomfortable feeling that you need to get comfortable with.
Gotcha. So okay, so I love that. I love the reframing struggle idea. So tell me something that you reframed, and what did you reframe?
Yeah. So again, when you're starting, for me, it was just starting with zero knowledge. I was seeing people pitching, right? And they were like incredible on the stage. And I was like, oh my, like, how do I pitch? And then I go and obviously I fail. Like, like it was like my first experience. I'm not going to be this, inspirational public speaker from like my first experience on like, but you go and you fail and like you, and
On
then you're like,
stage.
on maybe on stage as well. But you go and obviously you have nerves and the way you show up and how you talk. And that's what I'm saying about you're always learning, you're always developing. Each experience builds on the next experience and so on. Big, like incredible public speakers. They have many hours and many, like practices, and they've done a lot of work in that space to become a really incredible public speaker, right? And again, going back to brain building and early years and building those early experiences. So maybe if there's any parents watching, just some public speaking with your kids is going to be really fun. You can try out different topics, and you see them like, create a stage or a space and encourage them to like, own the stage and own the place. And you can do like fun topics. So going back to that. So yeah, like doing all these things add up. And your like the startup journey, depending on your circumstances, your background, we all start at different levels and different levels of skill set and competency and capability and confidence, right? So
And everybody is at different stage.
exactly. Yeah. So and I used to compare myself a lot. I used to be like, I'm here, but then I can see this, especially like on LinkedIn, and you see like everyone's achievements and like, I've done this and I've done that and I raised this and I've done, and so on. And I was like I'm literally like, we're bootstrapping. We're still like in the early kind of like stages of testing and understanding, does it work? It doesn't work. And I was comparing myself with people that have already validated the idea and then having paying customers. And I was like, why is this not working for me? What is happening? But I never knew that there's a process, that there's a journey, that there's this, you're always gonna build the product with your customers, iterate, pivot. And yeah, believing. I think the most important thing is believing in yourself, believing in the vision, and just continuing to be curious and explore and be open.
I have a couple quick fires for you.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do this.
Fires, like the ninja fruit thing, like.
We should put that in. Oh man, so
Yeah,
many things. We should put that in. Okay, so quick fire. First question: what's your favorite thing to do besides building a startup at the moment?
Hiking, walking, exercising, but the most, I think on the top of my list is basically taking Steve And at the weekend, we go for like, hikes. Some are beautiful, on a hill or mountain. So that's kind of like my go-to place and what I do outside of obviously building brains and building a business.
Nice. Do you have a favorite book or podcast?
Yours?
From scratch. Love that.
No,
Love
I
the
used
support.
to, I used to kind of like, in kind of like the very early stages, I used to do a lot of like reading and like books and podcasts and like a lot of information. But now I got to a stage where I have this challenge. Let me find the resource necessary to unlock the challenge. So I kind of like, based on what is currently happening in my life, I go and find those particular resources that will help me, or speaking to people. Usually speaking to people is the best thing to do.
Oh, totally. I'm in the same space too. Yeah, it's you're the problem solver, and only you can solve the problem. You want to find the quickest solution. If you could give one advice to startup founders, what would it be?
Just do it.
Just do it. Mic drop.
And enjoy the process at the same time. Yeah, just enjoy it. And we always, I'm gonna finish with this. When you're a kid, you look at young people and you're gonna be like, oh, I wish I was a young person because it's so cool. Then you're a young person and you look like, oh, I can't wait to be like a college student because it's so cool. When you're a college student, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to like work because it's so cool. When you're working, it's like, can I go back to being a college student? So I spent most of my life chasing the next thing. So I'm at a stage in my life where I'm just enjoying each and every single second, each and every single moment, and yeah, creating something beautiful, connecting and collaborating with other people from different parts of the world. And how amazing is that?
Yeah, and you don't only go through it once.
There you go. Pam, mic drop.
Great. That's it. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you
so much, Ioana.
Thank you.
It's great to seeing you.
And great to see you as well.